Welcome back to the channel. I'm excited about this one, guys, because we're gonna move some dirt with the Tonka toys. We're gonna clear out a lot of this dirt behind me that's been here since we excavated for the build of the house, which means moving a lot of this dirt to expand back so that we can build a safe, professional shooting range, not only for the plinking that we like to do up here just to practice our shooting, but also because we make security products, we do a lot of the backlot testing here on the ranch. Factories in Chicago, they'll make some of the test bucks, send them out to me. We'll test them to make sure that it's gonna work the way we intend before we actually build the final product and then ship it to a professional laboratory that's accredited for UL 752 ballistics materials. And that's expensive to do, so it's cheaper to do the preliminary testing here on the ranch. So it's gonna be a really exciting project, and I can't wait to get on the heavy equipment and start moving some dirt. Let's get to it. I'm going to carve a box into the side of the mountain here with 3 raised sides to keep everything contained in our safe area. So day 1 went by like a flash. It was mostly site prep, just getting the area ready, moving a few rocks around, cutting a few trees, and greasing all the equipment. It's amazing how those little things can just eat up hours of your day. So let's get on to day 2. Blue's gonna help me out here on day 2. We're gonna also utilize Maggie's expert chainsaw skills to help remove a tree that's in the way of where all this dirt's going, which is gonna be another terrace on the back side of the shop here. The first thing I did was move all the boulders that were around the base of that little cutout from the original excavation, and I piled those up over by the propane tank just to make sure that there's no way I could accidentally run into the propane tank with the heavy equipment. Now, I'm not saying I'm okay hitting a rock with my machines, but it's a lot better than hitting the propane tank. So anyway, we created a little safety barrier there. Now you'll notice these rocks here, that's a bottleneck. I've got to move all of those rocks. We also have to take out a few trees here to widen it out. We love our trees, we hate taking them down, but sometimes you gotta do it just to make room for things. If you watched my barn building video, I mentioned in there that I originally tried to excavate for the barn using this backhoe, and I just had my tail between my legs. It's just too much for a small machine like this, because the boulders that you see in the right-hand side of your screen, they're every couple of feet. I mean, they're all over in the soil, and you're constantly getting bounced around as you hit these boulders. This is really a better job for a much larger excavator, but I'm gonna do my best with this little backhoe, and now I have my skid steer to move the dirt around, so this is gonna be manageable. It's just gonna take a lot longer than it would with a bigger machine. So this is that little rock area that's a bottleneck. It's too close to the propane tank, and I need to widen this out. So I'm just gonna move all of these rocks up on the top of the hill, because once I get it widened out, I'll put them back down as a little retaining wall, even though we really don't need a retaining wall with this kind of rocky soil, but it does look kind of nice. So I'm gonna store those over here for now. And this tree, unfortunately, just needed to go, so I'll put that on the ground, and Maggie will use her expert's tree arboring skills to get that taken care of. So of course, as I mentioned, this machine is a little small for this type of soil. And of course, I'm gonna hit one of these, what we call Big Berthas. These are washing machine size or bigger boulders that are generally very difficult to dislodge. It can take a long time, 15, 20 minutes to dislodge it. Then once you get it dislodged, then you have to move all the soil away from it and try to get it to move. Sometimes you can pick it up with the backhoe, and sometimes you just have to roll it around like a giant bowling ball. Fortunately, I was able to barely pick this up. The machine was really straining, and I did get it moved, but I have to just move little bits at a time, little increments. So we'll move it, then we'll move the backhoe again, then put the stabilizers down, then move the boulder again. And that's just the process with these big ones. And we have a lot of these big ones, and I'm gonna hit many more before this project is over. But eventually you get it to wherever its final resting place is, and you gotta think about that a little bit, because you don't wanna move it again. And I think it'll be just fine right here. Let's get all this out, we'll call it a day. Welcome to the compact track loader cab here. I'll give you a quick tour. Right now I have the door open here, so you can see that my view to the bucket is right there, which is great because I'm used to the backhoe where it's way out in front of me and over the hood and you can't really see much of what you're doing. Here you've got full visibility. I've got this little tiny camera, not much larger than the screen of a cell phone. That is my only real visibility out the back. Now I can turn and you can kind of look around behind you. But you know, it's not the greatest visibility. You really have to watch that camera. This stick controls the machine forward and back, left and right. And then over here is my little information screen, fuel gauges, everything. And then this controls the implement, whatever you've got on the front: bucket, snow blower, mower. Backblading with this Kubota is amazing. Compared to the backhoe, I mean, it's right there in front of me and it does such a nice job. Man, I'm excited about that. How's your cutting going?
Well, I'm leaving those things for you.
You all done?
All done. Well, almost. I have to throw that away. And then I don't know, I'm just gonna leave this here. These are mine.
That's what happens when you have a Weimaraner. So we're only back about maybe 8 to 10 feet. We go all the way back to about where those trees are, and then the backstop will be all the way up against the back wall, and it'll be a lot steeper. It won't be this gradual slope. You know, I really underestimated, once again, how difficult this rocky soil is. Unfortunately, I did not get as far today as I'd hoped, and so we're gonna have to do a multi-episode on this. Most of this 2-day shoot was getting everything ready. It was greasing the backhoe, it was unpacking the forks and moving these railroad ties around and just getting used to using the Kubota compact track loader. That's a new machine for me, very foreign. I'm really used to the backhoe, but I'm getting used to it. And I think it does a lot of good as far as leveling and moving dirt around when you can see it right there in front of you, as opposed to being way back in the cab on this backhoe, not being able to see over the front of the bucket, and doing a lot of guesswork. Now, one thing about this soil is that it is extremely rocky. You can see there's boulders everywhere. We use it as part of our landscape scheme. And but I mean, I underestimated once again how many boulders there are. There is a large boulder every few feet. So it's really rough in the cab. It's just the dipper arm, the bucket skips over the rocks and it jolts the whole machine. And so, you know, then you have to start working around the edges of them, and you saw that I had to really work on that big boulder and just move it a few feet at a time to get it out of the way. So all of that really slows things down, but what I really did like about the way things went was I was able to clear out the boulders that had that bottleneck there by the propane tank, remove some trees, which Maggie did a great job of cutting those up and moving those out of the way. We got a flat terrace, more or less, forming over on the backside. Eventually that's going to be a barn for storing more of the heavy equipment. I'll be using the barn over here that you've seen before, more for storing the RV and using it as a workshop for woodworking, welding, things like that. So the equipment will be over around on this new terrace. So I'm really happy with where we are, but we do have a lot of work. This is probably going to be another 5-6 days of just digging and moving dirt and trying to flatten out that terrace. And then we have to set the posts in the concrete using sonotubes. And then we're going to drill through and mount these 8-foot wide railroad ties up along that post to create basically a railroad tied wall as a backstop against the rocky soil so we don't get any ricochets. It's going to be really amazing when we get it finished. And again, this is for product testing for my company. Shooting firearms is a perishable skill, so really excited to be able to have a little plinking area here where we can come out here whenever we are in the mood, and instead of just doing the dry fire that I usually do here in the house, be able to come out and do some live fire. It's a lot more fun. We do have some rubber dummies that we can spread around so we can do, that close quarters combat type training and, just keep skills polished. So again, this first episode of the shooting range build is a lot of laying groundwork and prepping the area, getting things ready to start really digging in. And I think that we'll get our leveling equipment out here. We'll probably have to bring in some road base because everything is so rocky that it's hard to backblade and get the terrace smooth. You need something on top of it that you can actually mold and shape a little bit without constantly hitting these boulders, which causes the backblade to lift up and drop, and then you get this uneven surface. I've been dealing with that since we moved here, and it's just challenging. So bringing a few truckloads of road base in to put as a topper to a really rough grade over there with all the boulders is probably the way that we'll end up doing that. Bringing all that to you very soon. Thanks for watching, guys. I really appreciate it. I've been super excited to announce that I did hit 10,000 subscribers, and that's a big deal to me. And I couldn't do it without you. So I really appreciate all your support. This is a great little community that we have going here. I love all the comments, so be sure to leave some of those down below. Let me know what you think of what I'm doing. And by all means, if you're a heavy equipment operator, school me, because I'm completely self-taught and I am getting pretty good. Got all the basics down, but there's always room for improvement. I'd love to hear any feedback you have on that. All right, see you next time.